Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the World of Football. Here we are going to be talking about Week 6 of Arena Football 1. It's been their inaugural season. We've been covering them week in, week out for the past 7 weeks. I know it says Week 6, but you can't forget about Week 0, everybody. I am your host, Adam Snow, and sitting next to me on the screen here is my father, the founder of the World of Football, Randy Snow, Dad. Randy, however you prefer to be called. How are you doing today? And how much Arena Football did you watch this past weekend?
I didn't watch a whole lot of it. I caught a lot of highlights, but I did watch the Billings game last night. Well, I'm wearing my Billings shirt. Hey, they're still my team, regardless of their record.
Hey, it's important to stick with your team. It's Arena Football. Anything can happen. We've seen, as we'll talk about today, we're going to talk about winless teams getting victories, and we're going to talk about undefeated teams losing at the buzzer. So there was quite the gamut of stuff to talk about this week if you're an Arena Football fan, and that's what we love to do here. This particular video is talk AF1, Arena Football 1. And guys, before we get going, though, and talking about these Week 6 slated games, we got 4 games to talk about, which is the most we've had to talk about in a week. So this is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of games, a lot of action. But we'd like to remind you guys to like, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Every little bit helps. If you got comments, we'd love to hear it and love interacting with everybody, especially if we talk bad about one of your teams. I love hearing all the Firebirds fans that have commented on certain things saying that we're haters. We're not. I respect the Firebirds quite a bit. They're good. They're good, and I've been wrong. I'll admit it. I've been wrong on a couple of takes, Dad.
Yep.
I'm the first to admit it.
Yes, you have been. I'll admit that you've been wrong.
Thank you, and we will get to that a little later on. Okay, let's get the action kicked off here. Things started off with the AF1 Thursday night as the Nashville Cats made easy work of the Washington Wolfpack, 68-20. How good do the Cats look now? It's a surprise what a quarterback will do for you, and Tyler Kolka seems to be that answer for the Cats. And the Cats already had a great defense, and let's not even forget their head coach, who has just, veteran AFL experience in the past. Now in the AF1, he is just something else. It was David Arbett, right?
Right.
So that guy knows how to coach, and we figured it'd be it might take him a little bit, but he would get this ship righted, and boy, it sure looks like it. You hang up 68 points, is no small feat. My takeaways from this game, especially starting off watching this game, was the Wolfpack wearing some camo alternate uniforms for, I believe it was their military night, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I don't know. I would assume so. You go all out on the military theme, and I thought they were actually pretty sharp looking uniforms.
Yeah.
When I started watching the game, I don't know about you, but I thought I was watching the Milwaukee Mustangs out there for a second. I had to be wait a minute, what team's trotting out there in these all purples? And it was the Wolfpack. I dug those uniforms quite a bit, and that might be the lone highlight for the Wolfpack during this one, guys. Sorry to say. Dan, what were some of your takeaways from this game?
This game didn't start until 10 p.m. Eastern time, and that is way past my bedtime. So I was struggling to watch this game. Nashville had a 6-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, Amos Coleman returned a missed field goal by Washington for a touchdown, and Nashville was up 13-0 at that time. Washington wide receiver Jalen Minnie had a touchdown catch, but Nashville still led 13-7 at the time. Nashville quarterback Tyler Kolka scored on a 1-yard touchdown run, and the Cats led 19-7. Washington wide receiver Ladarian McAllister had an 8-yard touchdown catch, but Nashville still led 19-14. And it was at this point in the game that, as I was watching it, I don't know if you had this happen to you, but I lost the video feed. I could still hear them, but I could not see any of the action. It kind of went to a generic screen, and it was close to halftime, and I kind of went to bed after that and didn't see any more. But I do know in the third quarter, McAllister scored a second touchdown on a 9-yard touchdown pass, but it was all Nashville from there. Just a dominating game for the Cats.
Much like you, it was a 10 o'clock game at night on a Thursday. And while I had Good Friday off, we were still kind of in a routine here. So I was in bed, around that time. So I didn't get to catch any of the game live. I tried to watch it the next morning and caught the beginning of the game once they got the broadcast up on Evergreen now, which I wish they were a little speedier on. I got up at like 8 in the morning, normal schedule. I got to sleep in a little bit. The normal schedule, I got up, I got my bowl of Fruity Pebbles. I was trying to sit down to watch this game in the morning while my fiance worked. And I don't think this game actually got put up till the afternoon. I was a little bummed. I was hoping to get up and get right into that game and catch up and be like, I'm going to get ahead on things this weekend. No, it did not work that way. But I will say this. So that was the turning point going into the second half because the Wolfpack were making it a game. But right from the first play of the second half, the Cats Carlton Brown is a name I don't think a lot of people are going to know, but he had a big play there to start the second half. The fullback with a screen catch for a touchdown. I believe it was like a 39-yard catch or 35-yard catch for a touchdown. It was pretty awesome. Big man touchdown there. To open up the scoring in the second half because the Cats didn't look back. They scored 20 in the third, 29 in the fourth quarter to Washington's 6 in the fourth quarter. Washington only scored 6 points the whole second half. Washington looked cooked after that. I don't know what it was. Watching Ed Crouch, and I like Ed Crouch, the quarterback for the Wolfpack. I like him. But there's just times where he's just throwing the ball aimlessly, and I'm like, what are we doing? Nashville just picking it off. That Nashville defense, you don't give them any opportunity. A lame duck pass is still going to probably find its ways into the arms of a defender. I don't know. Washington, I don't know. They got some work to do. But I want to bring up some stats real quick because there's this, like normally, when I put the stats in, we talk about a quarterback, a wide receiver. Those are usually the hot positions we talk about. But we're going to talk about a couple other positions. But first, Tyler Kulka was 15 to 25, 181 yards with 5 touchdown passes, 2 rushes for 4 yards, and 1 touchdown that you mentioned earlier. Fullback Carlton Brown of the Nashville Cats had 2 rushes for 23 yards, and both those rushes ended up in touchdowns. Then he had 2 catches for 39 yards total, and that 1 touchdown I talked about to start the second half. And then wide receiver Antoine Grant had 7 catches for 74 yards and 3 touchdowns during the game. So a heck of a performance there by the Cats. The Cats trending upwards. If we were to do stocks in the AF1, I think Nashville stock is going up. For the Wolfpack, Ed Crouch went 13 of 34 for 143 yards. He threw 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He had 9 rushes for -1 yards during this game. That's not a good recipe for success there. But then backup quarterback Rodney Raines got in there, went 0 for 3, threw 0 yards, obviously, but he had 2 interceptions and had 1 rush for -3 yards. So that was one of my favorite stat lines to read. And then for the Wolfpack, here's their highlight player, I think. Defensive lineman Che Hill had 2 catches for 70 yards. One of those was a 35-yard scamper on a screen pass. The big man playing fullback there and having a nice play there. That was like the big highlight, I think, for the Wolfpack. Otherwise, yikes, they got to go back to the drawing board for this one. After this one.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
No, not from this game.
Then I have one last nugget, and then we will move on.
Okay.
If I were to tell you, Dad, or ask you, how many of Washington's games do you think their opponent scored 60 points?
I'm going to guess 3.
4 out of 5 of Washington's games, their opponents have scored over 60 points. That is not a good recipe for success. Their lone game where they didn't allow that was their 35-28 win over the Oregon Lightning. So, yikes. Washington's got some stuff to figure out.
Yep.
All right, guys. We're going to take a moment here to remind you that we do a weekly podcast every week. Yes, we talk AF1, but we talk about so much more over at our podcast, This Week in the World of Football, which you can find wherever good podcasts can be found and on this YouTube channel. Dad, what is something we will be talking about on this week's episode, which is episode 390? We're 10 episodes away from our 400th podcast.
Yeah. Well, the big story this week for us is going to be Lee Corso. He's going to be retiring from ESPN's College Game Day after 38 years. I mean, he has just been there forever, and it's going to be different to see a college pregame show without him in it. He's just become such an icon. Also, we're going to talk about former Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava. He could be heading to UCLA. That's kind of been the rumors. I don't think it's been official yet, but that's the talk about where he could be landing. And there's a new football/horror movie coming out in theaters this September. I know you're more excited about it than I am. I got to watch the full trailer this morning, and not my cup of tea. I'm sorry.
We'll talk about that and so much more on our podcast this week in the world of football. Be sure to check out episode 90, which will drop Tuesday, usually in the evening on the East Coast, right here on YouTube or wherever good podcasts can be found. All right, we're going to move on to the Saturday slate of games in the AF1. It was a doubleheader on Saturday. So that's going to start with the Salina Liberty taking on the Oregon Lightning, and the Salina Liberty getting their first win of the season, defeating the Lightning 47-32. Now, this is a game I'll admit I didn't get to catch live. I didn't catch either of the Saturday games live. There's a lot going on. Easter weekend, family, other stuff, just laying around the house maybe is what I did, and couldn't watch football because, family, and the girls aren't into football. It is what it is. You got to make sacrifices. So I caught up with this game, preparing for this show. Salina looked like a completely different team. They finally strung a game together for 4 quarters, it seems like. And it all, I think, started with what everybody's kind of been kicking and screaming that Salina needed to do, and that was to find a more arena-style quarterback. And then we saw earlier this week they get Rakeem Cato. And I think that was something that made everybody go, hold on now, Salina might have a chance this week. And lo and behold, here we are, the 47-32 victory. When you look at Cato's stat line, it doesn't seem that impressive. But he was 8 of 15 for 92 yards, but he threw 5 touchdown passes. And while those aren't arena numbers, but the fact that he got in the end zone 5 times through the air for Salina, who's been very ground heavy, is very impressive. And I already kind of like their defense, but man, they seem to finally put a whole game together, and it was really nice. Running back Tracy Brooks carried the ball 15 times, so they still ran the ball. He ran it 15 times for 52 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then wide receiver Malik Honeycutt, 4 catches for 59 yards and 3 touchdowns. For Oregon, I like that they've been sticking with Dalton Cole. I think he's talented. They just got to string some wins together. He was 18 of 39 for 170 yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw an interception. He had 5 rushes for 8 yards, an additional touchdown. And then wide receiver Bryce Goggin had 9 catches for 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. What were some of your takeaways from this game?
Well, quarterback Dalton Cole scored the very first touchdown of the game for Oregon on a 5-yard touchdown run in the first quarter, which gave them a 6-0 lead. But the Liberty went on to lead 19-13 at halftime, and it was basically all Liberty the rest of the way. They were up 39-18 at the end of the third quarter, and they just cruised to that 47-32 win. So yeah, like you said, new quarterback made all the difference for them.
Yeah, that was something that came through last Tuesday on our podcast, like towards the end, and we didn't really bring it up, but that was something after the mics went off, like, oh, this is interesting. Rakeem Cato going to Salina, and I think that's a great match there. Cato, like I said, 92 yards. You're not going to really be like, doesn't sound like he had a good day, but the fact they got the ball in the end zone 5 times is all that matters at the end of it. They hung up 47 points, which is their most points of the season for them, since they hung up 37 in a loss in week 3 to Salina. Because, before that, we talked last week how they were only averaging 24 points a game. And so you nearly double that in this game. You bring your average points per game up a little bit, but it was just nice to see Salina get that win. Now there are no winless teams in the AF1, which is great. I love to see it. And good for that home crowd, too, to see them get that victory, too. On the other side of the ball, Oregon's a scrappy team. They outscored Salina in the fourth quarter. It seems like they'll outscore a team in the fourth quarter, and it's like they get within striking distance, but can never pull it off. So, I mean, it's just, at some point, this scrappy team's going to get something. They got a decent opponent this week. We'll talk about the games coming up. But Oregon, you can't count them out either. You don't know what you're going to get from them. If they can play a clean game, Oregon will be a team to reckon with. I think Salina getting this win is huge, and they got a big game coming up as well. We'll talk about that coming in a little bit. But Salina's a team now that they got a win under the belt. They got a quarterback I think they will be very confident in going forward. And, we'll have to see. It's anybody's game. I mean, we'll talk about who the best team is. It's clear who that is. But then to me, it's the rest of the field is a lot closer than I think people want to admit. I think it's one team, a little bit of a gap, and then the rest of the league. It's a bit of a crapshoot this season.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's you're already starting to see who the good teams are and who the also-rans are. It's not quite the halfway point in the season yet, but you can already tell who's separating themselves from the rest of the field.
Yeah, but it's still like even these teams that kind of have a downward trajectory, I don't think it's dire yet. I mean, it looks bad now, but I think all these teams still have a shot to turn it around. You're not eliminated from the playoffs yet, and we'll look at the standings later. There's a big, pack of teams there at the bottom that could easily climb themselves out of that hole. So it's still early. Like any arena game itself, and is a perfect analogy for this season. Look, any team during a game, you stay to the final whistle because you never know what's going to happen.
Yep.
Just like the season. Hey, that's why you play each game, because at the end of the year, you never know. As long as you can get into the dance, especially in a league like the AF1, anything can happen.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Anything else from this game?
Nope.
All right. Well, then the second part of the Saturday doubleheader saw the Southwest Kansas Storm come out of a wild one against the Corpus Christi Tritons, getting the victory 47-40. Now, this one was making the rounds because of the way this game ended. I don't know about you. Again, this was one I didn't catch live, but it was after hearing I watched the highlights after everything kind of happened, all the controversy of the ending of this game, because that's all anybody's going to talk about with this game in particular. And I don't have a fun nickname for this game yet. It's not the Corpus Christi crumbling or something like that. I don't think that'll stick. But very interesting how this all kind of shook down. I don't know if we want to talk about that or if we want to talk about stats. Where's your head at after watching this game?
Here's my thoughts on this game. This was the first loss for Corpus Christi. They've been playing quite well this season, and this was their first loss, and it came in dramatic fashion. This was a back-and-forth game in the first half that had Corpus Christi up 21-20 at halftime, and then with under a minute to play in the game, the Tritons were up 40-33, and then the game was tied 40-40 in the closing seconds when Southwest Kansas executed a hook and ladder play that started at their own 5-yard, resulting in a touchdown by Shiloh Flanagan, and with no time left on the clock for the win as time expired. Now, you were saying the play before, they threw a long Hail Mary pass that was actually caught in the end zone for a touchdown, but it was called back because of a penalty. And you were saying that a friend of ours from Arena Fan was saying that should have sent the game into overtime?
I guess so. I don't have the AF1 rule book to verify everything, but it was pointed out that the holding call on the Hail Mary pass that should have won the game for Southwest Kansas anyway. When it was called back, they gave him an untimed down, but it should have been, since it was an offensive penalty, a holding, I believe, and I could get the verbiage wrong. I am paraphrasing our buddy Tim, but it looked like it was because it's an offensive penalty that should have sent the game to overtime. I think on a defensive penalty, you would get an untimed down,
right?
But because it's an offensive penalty, they shouldn't have got another shot. The clock was at zeros, and it should have just gone to overtime. But they gave him an untimed down. Then the awesome hook and ladder play happened, and Southwest Kansas ended up with the win. And then they still had to kick the extra point, despite I don't know.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
I mean, even if it would have bounced off and Salina would have returned, or Corpus Christi would have returned it, they would have only have gotten 1 or 2 points. So it wouldn't have impacted that. I don't know if that's more for the betting side of things, over, under. We're not bettors here, so I don't know if that's why that happened. They have to do that kick or not. But it just didn't seem like they needed to. The game was done at that point, just even after all the things happened, right or wrong. After that dust settled, and that's what they went with. Should have been done. But they clearly seems like they might have missed a call. I don't know if it's been official that the AF1's owned up to that or not. They owned up to something else that happened earlier in the game when the score was tied 33-33. that they posted about, but I haven't seen anything. I could be wrong about the ending of that game. Should have gone to overtime or not.
Yeah, but I mean, for Southwest Kansas to have 2 plays in a row that went the length of the field and resulted in a touchdown is pretty incredible. In a game that was so close for all game long. So that was an incredible ending.
The Hail Mary pass, even with the holding call, forget about that. That first Hail Mary pass was awesome. Like the way the guy got it, there were bodies everywhere. Even the cheerleaders standing behind the board were like, "Did he just like mouth agape?" And it was crazy. And then even the hook and ladder play, I mean, was impressive in and of itself too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you said, to go down the field like that and still score a touchdown was impressive for Southwest Kansas. But if you're Corpus Christi, how do you let that happen?
Yeah, for all the years that you and I have been watching arena football, have we ever seen a hook and ladder play before? I cannot remember seeing a hook and ladder play in an arena game.
Maybe not in person. I'm sure it's had to have happened.
Yeah, but I've never seen it. I've never seen one.
You could be right about that. I mean, we've watched a lot, so it's hard. It all jumbles together. But regardless, Southwest Kansas comes out with the victory. Corpus Christi gets their first loss of the season. You hate to see it, but we got that'll lead into some great matchups, I think, going forward. Some stats real quick. Storm quarterback Jalen Morton was 23 of 42 for 264 yards. He threw for 6 touchdowns during this game, which is impressive. He threw 2 interceptions as well. And then he ran the ball 5 times for 23 yards. For Corpus Christi, their quarterback, Fred Payton, was 15 of 23 for 212 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns and an interception. Let's see here. Receiving-wise, for the Storm, they had a couple guys. Let's see. Charles Hall the fourth hauled in 4 catches for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Shiloh Flanagan there, 9 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdown catches. So a heck of a game for him with the Liberty. And then for the Storm, not the Liberty. Yeah. The Corpus Christi Tritons, Darius Prince had 5 catches for 75 yards and 2 touchdown receptions. So Corpus Christi still has a decent team. Southwest Kansas has been kind of up and down all year. They'll look great, and then they kind of go stale against a good team like Albany, and then they lost that heartbreaker to the Lightning. So this time they get the heartbreaker back, so it kind of bounced back in their favor to win a close one there. But if you're looking for entertaining indoor or arena football, that was the game. Go back, rewatch that game on Evergreen now. That ending was something else. But you might have to put in some earplugs because those announcers during this game. Can we talk about them for a second?
Go ahead.
Boy, these guys were loud. They were loud. They were having fun during the game. I'll give them that. They were loud. I had to turn the volume down several times. The audio was just a little hit and miss there. But hey, what can you do? And the other thing I want to make note of, to me it seemed like on the final drive there, especially, I guess I didn't notice it for the rest of the game, but it was mainly at the end of the game. Corpus Christi trying to go down and score the field goal to take the lead and maybe even get the clock to run down, but the way it was working out, it didn't work out for them. But the clock management was weird from the clock operator side. It seemed like they'd run a play, and I felt like it took 2 or 3 seconds, and they only took 1 second off the clock. They readjusted the clock at one point. I don't know. There was some weird. I don't know. I wasn't sure about the timing at the end of this game. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, and I'd love to be corrected if I'm wrong. It just felt like there was some inconsistency there at the end of the game on the time that should have been left or the time that should have been run off. But what do I know? I just have a YouTube show. I don't know anything else. What about you? Anything else about this game?
No, nothing on this game. I'm looking forward to talking about the next game.
Okay, well, that'll be it for this game then. And before we get to that last game, guys, I'd like to take this time to remind you guys to follow us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Links down in the description below. And if you're looking, you look at your closet lately and you're like, man, I don't have enough cool t-shirts. Well, guys, we can help you out there. Go to TeePublic and get yourself some World of Football swag. That's right. We got you covered. I'm wearing the basic World of Football tee today with no text. It's just a really nice logo. I love this logo. It looks great on a shirt. You can get it in a multitude of colors. You can go down and get that below if you so choose. No pressure, but we're watching you. So please.
Or get it on a hat or a mug or anything else.
Bingo, what Randy said. All right. Finally, for the second week in a row, we will end talking about AF1 action this week with the nationally televised game on Vice, which once again saw the Albany Firebirds take care of business against the Billings Outlaws, this time 39-7. What happened?
Well, as you know, like you said, this was a rematch from last week. Last week's score was 62-24, so they kept them from scoring 60 points this week against Billings. But the running back Sean McFarland was out for this game, which I think hurt them somewhat, but that's not an excuse for the play on the field. Albany scored a touchdown. You didn't catch the very beginning of this game. Before you knew it, they were up 16-0. Albany scored a touchdown, followed by a deuce on the ensuing kickoff, and then a pick six 1 or 2 plays later. And before you knew it, they were up to a 16-0 lead. Billings' only score of the game was a 4-yard touchdown pass from Braden Wingle to Keith Nemasango in the first quarter. Albany led 30-7 at halftime. Billings made a quarterback change in the third quarter from Wingle to Danny Southwick. He played a little bit better, but it didn't make any difference as Albany won the game 39-7. The only point scored in the fourth quarter was a safety. That's where the 39 comes from. Was the last score was a safety. So this, I said this to you guys earlier. This game was hard to watch. It really was. Not just because I was rooting for Billings, of course, but just such a man. Just a hard game to watch. I can't put it into words more than that. It was terrible.
Not like for 2 weeks we talked about how the Albany Billings games were going to be the games to watch, and they're the games I kind of wish I could forget. Well, look, don't get me wrong. Albany deserves all the flowers, and they have cemented themselves. If we were to do a power rankings at the World of Football, I think you and I would both be in agreement. It's Albany number 1, no question.
They're the only undefeated team now.
For grabs.
Yeah,
only undefeated team, but it's very clear. I thought the opponents they played early on, I was like, well, we'll see. And with Billings, the same thing. We'll have to see when they actually face each other. And it's very evident that Albany is just, from offense to defense to special teams, just the better team.
Yeah.
That's not to say Billings is a bad team, but when you only score 7 points, and now you hold both the record for the most points in a game in a season and the least points in a game in a season. The previous record was 12 points, and now Albany's got 7. You hate to see it. Let's talk about Sam Castronova real quick. He was 16-24, 152 yards for the Firebirds, threw 4 touchdown passes during this game. Best quarterback in the league, hands down. He's something else to watch, and he's got a great group of receivers. Let's talk about some of these guys. Receivers like Dwayne Brown, who's having a heck of a season, 9 catches, 104 yards, 2 touchdown catches. Darian Townsend, 3 catches for 5 yards this week, so he didn't do it as much as I'm scrolling through their stats here. Isaiah Scott had 5 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Nicholson, 1 catch, 9 yards, and a touchdown. So Albany, I mean, they got weapons everywhere, including their kicker. Was it Sam Nell, the kicker there?
Yes.
He is unbelievably good. Best kicker in the game right now, and quite the weapon.
Yeah.
For Billings, very disappointing. Brandon Wingle went 13-20 for 89 yards. He had 1 touchdown during the game, the only touchdown for the Outlaws. They couldn't muster up anything. It seemed like they couldn't move the ball down the field consistently. I don't know what the deal is with them. They got into these holes early and can't dig themselves out against a great team. I don't know what they got to do going forward. I have faith in Coach Walker that they'll take these 2 lumps now that they're 2-2 on the season, and they'll move forward and hopefully get that ship righted. But a couple of wake up calls for them against the Firebirds.
Well, I think they may be in the market for a different quarterback. From what I've seen the last couple of weeks from their two quarterbacks, I'm not impressed this season. Yeah, they had some big games early on against some rather weak opponents, but they may be in the market for a new quarterback on that team. So we'll see what happens there.
Hey, we'll see. It's still early for them. They've only played 4 games this year. And they've played 3 teams. They've played the Firebirds twice, and they've played 2 other teams that they just frankly outgunned.
Right.
So we'll see going forward. I was wondering, my thoughts during this game was, is this them missing a personality like Sed Bonner being your offensive coordinator? I mean,
I don't know. Could be.
Now that he's not doing broadcasting for Vice, because I don't know what's happening with the Vice crew. They had the guys who did the Albany game again last week on the call. I don't know what the deal is with them. I don't have any insider information other than that sounds like Vice just wanted to go with local broadcast teams. I don't know if that's a money thing. I don't know if it's something Ari and said. No idea. Yeah. But regardless, the broadcast crew did their best. I thought they were a step up from last week. I liked how they did the broadcast this week. I thought they were fine. They are still not on camera from what I saw during the game.
At the very beginning, they were for this game.
Oh, were they? Okay, so I missed the beginning of the broadcast. Okay.
Just in pregame, but after that, I never saw them again. Now, I would like to say one thing about the broadcasters. There were a couple of touchdowns in this game by Albany where their linemen caught passes, and they kept calling them the Big Six, because you don't see a big lineman catching a touchdown that often. But they kept referring to those plays as trick plays. And to me, that is not a trick play, because on every play, one of those outside linemen raises his hand to identify that I am an eligible receiver. I'm a tight end on this play as well as a blocker. So to throw a pass or a touchdown to a tight end, that is not a trick play. It's part of the offense. So I didn't like that terminology where they kept saying that's a trick play. So that bothered me.
Hey, I mean, I liked the terminology of the Big Six.
Yes,
I didn't
that
hear
was
them call
fine.
them trick plays.
That's fine.
But
yeah, trick play. No, that is not a trick play. That's part of the arena football offense.
Okay. And then, I mean, hard to talk about this game. I mean, it was a blowout. Clearly, Albany's the better team. But something you kind of brought to my attention, I was thinking the same thing during the broadcast. No sign of Steven Titus that I saw. Usually you see him on the sideline, and I don't know, the camera was kind of all over the place.
Right.
At times, so it was hard. Right. Maybe he was there. We just missed him.
Yeah, but like the last game, you could see him, by the team every now and then when they'd pan the camera over. Yeah, there he was talking to people or whatever. But I did not see him at all on the broadcast this time. Just something I noted.
I wondered, and I was thinking about this. I wonder if that's more because it was their first home game of the season. Billings had that new turf. I wonder, when you're the owner of the team and you're in that building, you're hosting. I'm sure there's a lot of logistical stuff maybe he had to go take care of. Like, yeah, he could have been sitting there on the bench, but maybe he had to go take care of some other stuff on game day because he's at home for a change. Yeah. He hasn't had to have a home game all year, so who knows?
I thought they might interview him at halftime, but no, I didn't see that either.
I thought maybe they would too, but regardless, I mean, you're best friends with the man. You could call him up and ask him, Steve, where were you, bud? I was hoping to see your lovely mug on the television screen. I didn't see it.
Well, the other thing I noticed about the field, there was no logo on the field for Billings, and it looked good. Other than that center area where the logo should have been, there were some mismatched colored squares on the field, and that was a little unsightly. And I thought, you've had like 4 weeks to host your first game. I thought for sure they would have a kick-ass logo on their field, but didn't see it.
Hey, look, it looked like it was a nice playing surface. Yeah, maybe a little mismatch. So I'm not trying to sugarcoat it because I'm usually the one who nitpicks that stuff. I'll just say the AF1's got a ways to go in terms of their field presentation. That's goes without saying right now. There's some other leagues and teams that maybe we've seen that have really knocked out of the park the whole making their field look really nice game. And it's fine. It's their first year. And it was new turf. I don't know. I'm willing to give them a break. And your best friend, Steven Titus, not so much flack for that. We'll see how they do going forward.
the Nets look great, so that's a big plus
They
right
did.
there.
They did. And we kind of, I wonder if we'll hear something this week about the lovely bet that the owners of the Firebirds and Steven Titus made
Oh yeah,
about the car wrap.
yeah.
I haven't checked out Steve's Instagram yet. If you haven't, go do it. Steve, your Instagram game is on point. But I haven't seen anything about his car getting wrapped yet. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, he posts a picture. I feel like he's a man of his word, and he'll do it. So
I'm sure he will.
Randy is keeping an eager eye out for that picture, Steven, just so you know. All right. Anything else from this game before we move on?
No, just a hard to watch game. Glad it's over. Let's move on to next week.
That's true. And the Firebirds are your undoubtedly number one team in Arena Football 1. I said it, and I was wrong. We can move on.
Okay.
All right, let's look at the standings after 7 weeks of play. The Albany Firebirds, you're undefeated, 5-0 at the top spot. Corpus Christi at the second spot with a 3-1 record, followed by the Southwest Kansas Storm at 4-2. The Billings Outlaws, very weird seeing them outside of the top three, but they're at 2-2 with the Nashville Cats. So both those teams at 500. Nashville stock going up. Billings stock is going down right now. I'm not in panic mode about the Outlaws. They got some stuff to figure out. The Cat stock, though, is going through the roof for me right now. And then you have a three-way tie at the bottom here, 6, 7, and 8, as the Oregon Lightning, Salina Liberty, and Washington Wolfpack all sit at 1-4. One of those teams will definitely get their second win, as the Lightning will be taking on the Wolfpack this week. We will talk about that in the upcoming games here in a second. Any thoughts about the standings?
No, they are what they are. That's all I can say.
All right. And then previewing next week's games, we're going to have a Friday night triple header, which sees, I believe the Vice game this week will be Friday night, and we'll see the Salina Liberty traveling up to Billings to take on the Outlaws.
Yes.
Salina obviously getting their first win. Billings in a 2-game skid. This should be an interesting matchup, I think, now. Which team's going to show up? Is a good Salina team going to show up, or is Billings going to bounce back? We shall see. Dad, who do you got taking this game?
Boy, I don't know. I think Billings should be able to right the ship this week, but boy, Salina has been so close in some of their losses that it's hard to say. But I'm still rooting for my Outlaws.
Uh-huh. Well, I think Billings will bounce back. I think it'll be a closer game than people think, but I will take Billings in that one. The second game, we'll see the Albany Firebirds travel to Corpus Christi to take on their old friend, Darius Prince. This will be on Evergreen now, and no question, give me the Firebirds all the live long day with this one.
Yeah, that should be a good game, though. I agree. Albany will probably win this game, but Corpus Christi can make a difference in this game, so we'll see.
I'd be curious to see if Corpus Christi can give them a run for their money and make me eat those words calling Albany the best team. That's been biting me in the butt. I call the team the best team, and then they get burned the next week. So maybe take that to the bank, everybody. I don't know yet. Then the third game Friday, we'll see the Washington Wolfpack traveling to Oregon to take on the Lightning. This is a game I think the Oregon Lightning will take. Washington stock has been going down. Every game but one, which was against the Lightning, by the way, their opponents have scored 60 points. I don't see Oregon letting a big lead crumble like they did the last time these two teams played. I believe this will be Oregon's first home game since that first game against Billings. So very curious to see the updated field situation there in Oregon. And, see if Washington can right the ship. But I just think Oregon will take this one. Oregon's been close with a few points.
I don't know. I got a feeling Washington might win this game, but we'll see.
Okay.
Just want a good game.
All right. Yeah, for sure. And then Saturday night, we'll see the Nashville Cats take on the Southwest Kansas Storm. This should be the game of the week. Yeah. I think it'll come down to the end. I think the Cats are going to pull it out. What do you think?
Boy, when we're doing NFL picks, I usually favor the home team, and this is going to be at Southwest Kansas, so I don't know. I'm still going to go with Nashville.
Okay. All right. And as far as I know, not a whole lot of news this week. More rumors swirling about Corpus Christi. We don't even get into that. Until something substantial to talk about, not even going to be a news item. So that means
Right.
there's nothing really else to talk about this week other than a great slate of games coming up. Teams figuring stuff out. Teams, that could use some help. And we'll see how things go for the rest of the season. Dad, any other thoughts before we just call it a day?
No, let's call it a day.
All right. This is a long one today. 4 games to talk about. So hopefully everybody got their arena fill. Leave your comments and thoughts down in the comments below. We would love to talk to you about Arena Football 1. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to the channel for more AF1 recaps and other football goodness as the indoor, arena, and spring football season marches forward. We'll see you guys next time on the World of Football.